So with the new generation consoles coming very soon, it's almost time to say goodbye to the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. But when is that time going to come? Well, if we look back at the last gen consoles, the PS3 and Xbox 360, they were discontinued in 2016, which is about 3 years after the release of the PS4 and Xbox One. So based off that, it would be reasonable to predict that the PS4 and Xbox One will be discontinued around 2023, which means that console gamers will have about 3 years to upgrade to the new systems. On the other hand, if you look further back to the 6th generation consoles, especially the PS2, that console was not discontinued until 2013, which is 13 years after the console came out, and 7 years after its successor, the PS3, was released. So, it doesn't make much sense to base the longevity of the PS4 and Xbox One off of previous generations, because each generation, different things are happening. Right now, we're in the midst of a global crisis. The current unemployment rate in the United States is creeping up to 20%, and the entire world is suffering financially from this whole situation. And remember earlier this month when I made a video talking about why the PS5 and Xbox Series X might fail at launch, I made the point that, well, we're in the middle of an economic recession, the worst since the Great Depression, which means that a lot of people are not going to be in the position to get a new system for $500, $550, $600, however much it's going to cost. We still don't know exactly how much, but just remember that in 2013, when the 8th gen consoles came out, despite the economy being in good shape and the consoles being reasonably priced, you still had a lot of people that couldn't afford to upgrade their consoles. I'm sure we all know a lot of people that stuck with their PS3s and Xbox 360s for at least a couple years after the new consoles came out. But now fast forward into 2020 and the economy is in the worst shape it's been in most of our lifetimes. So it's going to take a very long time for a lot of people to reach financial stability to the point that they can just drop $500, $600 on a brand new gaming system. Because even when the virus dies down and we start going back to normal, it's going to take a very long time for a lot of people to get back on their feet. Because during this time, while people weren't working, while they had no income, they couldn't support themselves, feed their families, they're racking up all this debt. You still owe all that money that you haven't paid, all that backed up rent money you haven't paid in 3 months, you're going to owe that once all this is over. So I think there's just going to be so much on a lot of people's minds. They're going to care so much more about having a roof over their head, about having food on the table, than getting their hands on the new PlayStation 5. So I predict that it will not be until the year 2025 that these consoles will be fully discontinued. When we're talking about the PS4 and the Xbox One, it'll be at least another 5 years before those consoles are completely obsolete. And the economy is definitely the big factor that makes me think that these consoles are going to last so much longer than the last generation consoles. But the other thing is that despite the economy, put the economy aside for a second, people are just going to not have a huge incentive to get the new generation systems, especially when you consider that the launch for these consoles, especially during COVID and all this other stuff going on, the games are going to be really dry. The launch games are probably not going to be very impressive. We're not going to have too many big games that we must play. And another thing to keep in mind is that a lot of people recently bought the PS4 and Xbox One, whether it's the base model or the Xbox One X, the PlayStation 4 Pro. Those consoles were released in between the 8th and the 9th generations, and there are a lot of people that bought those consoles at pretty expensive prices, so they're not going to be willing to go ahead and buy the new consoles when they feel like, well, we just bought the PS4 Pro or the Xbox One X. Like, they want to get a couple more years out of those systems before they move on to the next gen. So I think the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro are going to extend the life cycle of the 8th generation, so that means the PS4 and Xbox One will last a lot longer because of the more powerful versions of those consoles that we got only a few years ago. We got the PS4 Pro in 2016 and the Xbox One X in 2017, so I think it will be too early for a lot of people to just go ahead and move on to new hardware. Especially with the 8th and 9th gens being the most integrated generations in gaming history with cross-gen gaming and backwards compatibility, those two things pretty much guarantee that Sony and Microsoft are not going to discontinue online services for those older consoles for a very, very long time, because a lot of people will still be using them. So that's definitely going to help the old consoles stay relevant for even longer, because even if you moved on to the newer consoles, if you have a PlayStation 5, but there are a couple games you play that were made for the PS4, but you have them on backwards compatibility, you're still technically using the PS4's online services, which might indirectly keep the PS4 alive. Kind of like with right now, I'm playing a lot of old Call of Duty games on the Xbox One, but I'm using it through backwards compatibility, and I could play with people who are on the 360. So overall, consumers are not going to have much of an incentive to upgrade to the new consoles, at least not for a little while, which indicates that the PS4 and Xbox One probably won't be discontinued for a while. With the economy gone to shit, the PS4 and Xbox One are going to be a good cheap alternative for people who want to get into console gaming but can't really spend $500 on a new system. And with demand for the new generation systems not being very high, developers may be forced to continue supporting the old hardware, which would prolong the lifespan of the 8th generation consoles. So that's why I don't think it will be until 2025 that we see the end of the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. When it comes to online services, it will probably never end, but when we're just talking about the hardware being manufactured, I think demand will continue to be steady for the old systems, even with the release of the new generation consoles. But anyway, that's it for today's video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, and also let me know if you guys plan on getting the PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X at launch, or are you just going to stick with your old systems? You're going to stick with your PS4 or your Xbox One for the next couple years. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you later. Bye.